Thank you for joining me for Talent Talk today. My name is Carl Kutzmode, and I lead our talent and organizational effectiveness practice with Talent Rise. Today, I'm going to interview Adriano Pedrelli, who I've known and respected for many years in the business community. Adriano is a successful business leader, corporate board member, and entrepreneur growth advisor with over 13 years experience advising and leading startup and mid-market companies as an interim and full-time senior executive. Adriano's career journey has gone from his blue-collar beginnings providing tax and audit services to manufacturers, pensions, and unions to his success in the boardroom across a broad range of diverse industries, including professional services, healthcare, hospitality, real estate, and financial services. Now, this diverse experience has enabled Adriano to understand business from the perspective of every member of the organization, from that frontline hourly worker all the way up to senior executives. And that's why I wanted to have a conversation today to really understand how he has been successful in helping entrepreneurs and growth stage businesses to move the bottom line in their business by bringing his unique talents to the table. So I'm going to start with my first question today, Adriano. Can you share a success story where you worked with a business owner to take their business to the next level of growth when they really just felt stagnated, either because their own abilities couldn't see beyond what they knew and had done in the past, or for other reasons that were in front of them?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I was thinking about that question, and I think the most recurring example that I have is simply convincing a business owner or a founder that they should not be doing everything. And I think this is true with when I was working with startups, as it is when I'm working with established business owners of companies. What I found is that what typically happens is these business owners don't feel like they can give any of this to others to do. And the key is helping the business owner understand that they should be doing what they do best, and the rest to those who are more efficient and more willing to do them. Because sometimes we do things in our business that we don't like to do, or it takes us too long to do. And this is what I have to convince, or I had to convince some of these business owners to do. This is especially true with the business owner that has family members as in their business. In those situations in the past, what I've helped them do is I help them develop a strategy and help them develop a succession plan. So that way they feel comfortable when they pass their business or pass various tasks on to their sons, their daughters, their nieces, their nephews, those types of things. So while I'd love to give you one example, I mean, my point here is this transcends from anybody from a startup entrepreneur to a well-established business owner. And I've dealt with each of those situations.
You brought up some really good points. A lot of times the business gets stagnated because the business owner feels like they have to be able to be involved in all aspects of the business, from marketing to sales to operations, and they have to be an expert at everything. And for those leaders that recognize what they're good at, maybe it's just sales and marketing, and they focus there and they give up responsibility and hand that off to either an interim executive like yourself, or someone that they hire full-time into an executive leadership role or multiple roles. Those are the businesses that are going to move forward, because that leader has recognized that I've maxed out on what I'm able to do personally. So it's a really great point.
And in addition to that, what I have found is that those business owners, once they finally do the things that they really love doing and the things that they're good at doing, they are actually even happier being there, and they're happier growing the business and happier getting involved, and they have a more open view on what really should change in this business for it to grow to the next level.
It's a great point. You've held interim CEO roles for an information technology services company and an eco-friendly wastewater disposal company. You're also the founder of Blue Stream Group, a consulting firm that advises and funds early stage, growth stage startup companies. And through that experience, you've amassed a great network of service providers and high net worth investors. How can you, because you've advised a number of entrepreneurs on their growth strategies and helped them with this as an interim executive, what's your formula for success from the financial side and helping them grow it financially?
Well, well, if I can answer that after my first comment, and my first comment is I try to look at things from a very high level viewpoint. So from a 10,000 foot viewpoint in terms of what does the organization look like? How does it look like compared to the industry? Okay. And then what I look at is I look at the ability to execute. So the financial issues will never be resolved if there are no if the execution issues aren't taken care of. So I look at their ability to execute, and their ability to execute allows me to understand what their financial needs are and how to structure those financial needs. So it's execution and then finance.
That makes sense. When you look at developing your professional network and contacts, over the years, and using that network as your kind of toolbox that you bring to the employer. What are some of the things that you've been able to do to help those employers, those companies, when leveraging your network?
Well, one of the examples I can think of off the top of my head is when I was involved in a premium finance company, more as an advisor, and then I was at the same time simultaneously I was on the board of a bank. And in that situation, that premium finance company wanted to meet its demands of its clients, and it was having a tough time doing it because it needed an infusion of capital. So what I did was, I shouldn't be doing that. What I did was I put together a relationship between the bank and the premium finance company, and it was a win-win situation in the sense that the premium finance company had enough capital infused in it in order for it to meet the demands of its clients, which not only made it more stable, but also increased the revenues dramatically. And the bank increased the size of their premium finance portfolio, so that way they diversified their risk, and they increased their return on investment.
Definitely a win-win. So it's like you brought two organizations together for a win-win, creating an alliance or partnership that financially helped drive that growth of that business. That's great. So you've served on a number of boards in your career, and business owners that are in startup or growth mode don't always have boards. So what advice would you give them related to the value of building an advisory board?
So I've been involved in many boards, as you mentioned, and I really believe it's essential for a business to grow. And if a business wants to grow, it's really essential to have a board. It can be a small board, as small as one or two people. And the key is not the size of the board, but the consistency of the board. So you have to consistently be meeting with your board members and consistently have an idea of what you need to meet with them for. The next is really the candid feedback. It's important when you have an advisory board that they give you candid feedback, because an advisory board could do anything from help you open doors to provide you with input in terms of your strategies and what you're considering in terms of growth. And what's important is for the business owner to understand the goals that they are trying to achieve. And if a business owner doesn't really understand the goals that they're trying to achieve, the board cannot be as effective as it would like to be or should be.
It's a really good point. So clarity of your corporate mission, your goals for the business, and how they communicate that to the board that they put together is critical to gaining maximum value out of the board. What other tips do you have in terms of selecting the board? Is there a formula for, who should be on the board and who should not be on the board?
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe that you should select people that, in some respects, are not involved in your industry. And because they're going to give you a viewpoint from other industries, they're going to ask questions that people in your industry are going to already assume might be done or already assume that you're doing. So you want somebody to be able to ask you questions and to be able to learn as they're going forward. The other important part about an advisory board member is they're willing to interact on your behalf. And that might be in terms of, like I had mentioned before, opening doors. That might also be in terms of observing, those types of things that you might need to have done. There's a few other things, but right now I can't think of them.
I think I've seen that benefit a lot of the clients that we've worked with. There is a little bit of sensitivity if the board members have someone who's a family member of the owner on the board. Sometimes people are a little less willing to be as free in their advice or, candid in their advice to the owner, when you have a family member also on the board. So just be conscious of that would be something I'd add from my experience. Well, I think we've covered a number of areas here. And, I think my last question here, as someone who's been both an interim and a full-time C-level executive in growing companies, when does it make sense to hire an interim leader versus hiring them full-time?
Well, I would tell you that an interim leader would make sense is when you have a more project-based type of situation, or another situation would be when you're trying to test the waters and trying to figure out what would be the right person for a role. I would tell you that a full-time person would be more of a person when you're trying to affect change and you have made a decision that you want to go from point A to point B, and you want to do that as efficiently and as effectively as possible. And you want somebody there that is passionate enough to help you move forward.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think having someone full-time, you want them committed to the culture, the mission, the vision, whereas someone who's coming in interim is usually filling a gap, either a skill gap or an experience gap that the owner might have, or maybe they're not sure how to structure the role yet and they want to try out, a person and see if someone who's got more financial acumen is a better fit than someone who's more operationally focused. So that's a way. And we've actually, because we have an executive search practice, we've had interim leaders placed in when an untimely departure has happened and the executive has left who was in the middle of a major, acquisition or due diligence process, and they needed someone with acumen to help carry that ball forward until we could replace that leader with someone to fill the role post-acquisition or post-transaction. But yeah, it's definitely something that, organizations need to take and look at holistically, and what is the need and how are they going to leverage someone in this role to drive the business forward. Well, this has been great. I've really enjoyed our conversation today, Adriano, and always great to see you and talk with you. And we
Great to see you as well.
Much success in your career, and hopefully we'll have another opportunity for you here in the near term. Thanks again.
Thank you.